You are tuned into my weekly talk radio TV show called Take My Advice. I'm not using it. Get balanced and get happy with Dr. Marissa. And this show is about hope and happiness. So there's no gossip, no scandal. Instead, I want you to focus on your own reality show and how you can be happy 88% of the time. So I have shows and topics.
Sunday, Monday, happy days. Tuesday, Wednesday, happy days. Thursday, Friday, happy days.
Monday, Tuesday,
Happy days.
Wednesday, Thursday,
Happy days.
Friday, whatever.
Happy days.
What a day. Na-na-na, na-na-na.
I love you.
I love you too.
Best known as the mom from Happy Days, and she is a delightful 89-year young Marion Ross to my studio. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Dr. Marissa, this is such a treat for me.
Oh.
My goodness, you're a wonderment.
Which is exactly the kind of guest that I like. Those who have gone through life, good and bad, and then taken those experiences to alchemize them into the person they are now and doing good on the planet. I'd like you to welcome Corey Feldman.
If you're grateful for it and you say right away, thank you, God. Oh, my God, it's so beautiful. I'm so blessed. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Then guess what? More good things will come to you.
Does this sound familiar at all? She's back again to mark my Cancer Awareness and Prevention Month show. Please welcome Fran Drescher. Hi, Fran.
On and supporting cancer schmance. I really appreciate it.
So what would you say are some of the biggest myths, Fran, that people have about cancer?
Well, I would say that they think that there's a cure for it.
Okay.
Instead of a cause for it.
This is the first call-in show when I get to be Dr. Marissa, the kinder, gentler Dr. Laura. And people call in to get their life tires balanced and their critical thinking or their BS, their belief systems, smog checked. And today I am delighted to have Malie calling in from Birmingham, Alabama.
We could go 90 days and end up having terrible sex. And then you say, well, the relationship's not all about sex. Well, if I'm not getting great sex from you, then I'm going to get it from somebody else. Right?
That moose just got put on the table. And I see Josh and Jim.
I have to agree
You're
with Clyde.
both nodding. Ramon's sort of half nodding because his wife's listening. But
I understood what was going to happen if Muhammad Ali's youngest daughter, made public that I was going to become a boxer. So I wanted to make sure this was the path that I wanted to go down.
You are absolutely fabulous, beautiful inside and out. And I'm giving you Dr. Marissa's Beneficial Presence on the Planet Award today.
Thank you.
Just sit right back and you'll hear a tale of a fateful trip that started from this tropic point.
When I go, I'm gone.
Are you lonely?
No.
Yeah, I knew that was going to be
But
the answer.
I surround myself with people. I mean, I'm always the one cooking for things. Or I'm always the one that decorates first and come to my house. All the orphans that have no place.
I'm going to have no place to go, so I can come over.
Come on over.
And life is so amazing if we can see it.
Jump off that exhausting hamster wheel and into balanced living with Dr. Marissa.
Promise you joy in the mystery.
Dr. Marissa, also known as the Asian Oprah. Her mission, to be a beneficial presence on the planet. Her purpose, to be your personal advocate to live, laugh, love, learn. Her life motto, don't die wondering. Take back your life with Dr. Marissa Pay.
And welcome, you're tuned into Take My Advice. I'm not using it. Get balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show here on KZAA, NBC News, CNBC News, and NBC Sports Radio Station, AM 1050, FM 106.5, and streaming everywhere. iHeartRadio, Spotify, Stitcher, iTunes, TuneIn, Audible, Amazon Music, Tiki Live, Rumble, Podchaser, Speaker, Streaker, and more. And we're so delighted to have you here on this show about hope and happiness. So if you're new and you're thinking we're going to do some ranting and raving about politics or what's wrong with the world, you're tuned to the wrong station, because this is a show that we encourage you to focus on your own life. And as I like to say, instead of focusing on gossip, scandal, or the K word, Kanye talk, your own reality show is what we want to help you up level with respect to your happiness, your joy, your peace of mind, peace of heart. And that's why I've been here for 617 consecutive weeks with this is podcast show number 1116. And if you've missed any of those past 1,000 shows, please do free subscribe to my YouTube channel, where you can watch and listen, or just when you're done driving, you can come on the YouTube channel to chat and ask questions. And today is Friday. No, wait. Oh, it's
Wednesday. Surprise! These are jokes. These are all jokes, people.
I definitely am having so much fun that time passes so quickly. It is Wednesday, and it's my very special series on Wednesday. You do recognize her. Dr. Tiffanie Tate is a U.S. Navy veteran, a published author, and retired OBGYN from Compton, California. She's a playwright, singer, poet, songwriter, and more. She's a published author of several books, including one coming up soon, another children's book, but my favorite one is the one called Bad Touching, that helps kids understand what is good and bad touching. So please welcome back on this Wednesday, back to the studio, my fabulous, beautiful inside and out co-host, Dr. Tiffanie Tate. We're in Doctors in the House.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning to you. And let's go ahead and jump right into having breakfast with Dr. Marissa and
Dr. Tiffanie Tate. Happy Wednesday.
Thank you. I am grateful that I do have a plethora of days where I get to broadcast to you. The fact that I'm grateful that during COVID, I went from once a week on the air, on camera, to every weekday morning when the station owner, Fred Lundgren, called me out of Texas and said, how would you like the morning show? And I went, yeah, sure. And then realized that 5 days a week is a little different than once a week, but it is all good. And I am so grateful that I really do get to have this platform to start every single day, which is why I don't know what day it is. Dr. Tiffanie, what are you grateful for?
And I am grateful to have the privilege to be on the radio to bring various topics to you wonderful, beautifully blessed people once a week.
Yeah. Frank is grateful that he's lost 15 pounds. He just put that in the studio. I'm grateful for my sound engineer, Frank, who's grateful that he lost 15 pounds. I didn't know that you were even trying.
Yeah.
Let's do this. Nah. And I'll go back on that one too. I re-lost the 15 pounds that I gained back from my 35-pound weight loss. So we're down, I have another 5 to go to get back to where I was, and then we're going to try to lose some more. So I get an applause too. And Dr. Tiffanie.
And I am grateful that I am not worried about any of that.
And there you have it. Yeah, we celebrate everything here, no matter where you are. And I think I am grateful that the show that they said wouldn't last a year, more than a year, because I don't talk about current events, because you can get that anywhere, and the negative side, or if it bleeds, it leads, that I have insisted to keeping on being and focusing on not just positive things, but also whatever works for you, boo. We're not here. It is doctors in the house, because Dr. Tiffanie is an MD and I'm a PhD piled higher and deeper. So we do talk that way, but I think hopefully you realize that our ways are only one ways of a myriad of ways in which you can up-level your life. So we don't like to preach in that sense and say this is the only way, as we just illustrated beautifully. Yeah. All right, I think there's enough gratitude in the house. So let's go down to the bottom of the bun, which is gratitude on the inside, or appreciation. What do you like about yourself? And I see the eyeballs rolling in. Welcome to the show. We start every show with gratitude and appreciation, taking a bite of my gratitude sandwich with my co-host this morning, Dr. Tiffanie Tate. So we do this because I want you to weight lift, right? We're not used to talking nicely about ourselves. We're used to criticizing ourselves or taking on all that negative self-talk that we were taught or spoken to. So I want you to highlight those things that you like about yourself. For example, Dr. Tiffanie, why don't you start it off?
I love my analytical skills. I love the way I think.
I love my discipline, starting days with meditation and, just starting every day, resolve to pick the best feeling thought I can all throughout the day.
I love the way that I am able to speak up and speak out on behalf of others, because if there is an underdog, I am going to root for them, and I'm going to come to their aid, and I'm going to assist them.
I appreciate the way that I dress myself. I am a fashionista and a clothes horse, or whatever you want to call that, and I appreciate my ability to do that.
And I love the fact that I can sing. And if you will allow me, because it is Black History Month, I would love to sing a little bit of Lift Every Voice and Sing.
Here we go.
Okay. Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring, ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high as the listening sky. Let it resound loud as the sea. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun of our new day begun. Let us march on till victory is won. Thank you very much.
Yay! Beautiful. I was trying to sing harmony when you said harmony in the song, but the mic doesn't allow for harmonies. They haven't figured that out yet, but they will on technology. But that was beautiful. Thank you. I love that song, by the way. You know, at Agape, we're very diversity friendly, and of course, our founder is African American, and it's just I love that song. So yay! Thank you for that.
And it was written by James Weldon Johnson, in case anybody didn't know.
There you go. There you go. Hopefully I won't get hit with a copyright thing, but
I didn't sing the whole song, so it should be okay.
Okay. Sounds good. And you got a heart for that. Someone posted a heart. Thank you very much if you've just tuned in. This is not normally a singing show, although we have both been known to break into a little song. But this was a beautiful rendition of a song that celebrates Black History Month and certainly includes the way we want to all of the participants of America. And if you missed the show on Monday when Akuyo Graham came on and talked about the contributions of African Americans, and my hope is that one day we won't need a month, right? Because all races will be appreciated and attributed with the contributions to this beautiful country called America, and not just one or two. So that was a part of our breakfast with Dr. Marissa and Dr. Tiffanie. I think we need a couple more bottom of the butt appreciations before we finish breakfast and launch onto our topic. We were in the green room chatting beforehand, and I really appreciate my discipline of adopting the law of attraction as one of my fundamental foundation practices of my life. And I was sharing with Frank and Dr. Tiffanie that the shift for me from trying to make things happen and I gotta do this and I gotta work hard, and a lot of the self-development motivational speakers these days are just like the gospel according to Nike, which I use, just do it. And what I've realized is the power of plugging myself into the power that creates the worlds, that makes sure that every grain of sand and drop of water is unique. That same power can easily fulfill any of my intentions and desires, which I know the universe and life is always conspiring for me and never against me. So I don't have to work so hard. I still do action, but it's inspired action. And when I live this way, I would say the past 5 years, I've been really solidly practicing this. All of the things that I've ever desired are effortlessly coming into being. And y'all know I say this often and people make fun of me, why don't you hire people to do SEO or, work with your YouTube or, try to get more followers and try to get more numbers. And I've gone from okay to I really don't even want to do that. And the more I say I don't really want to do that, the more the universe shows that I don't need to do that. And I walked into a bank yesterday and sat down and was changing some money to a CD. And she took my name and she goes, Dr. Marissa, oh, I listened to you. And it was just so delightful because it is proof that I'm on the right track, man. I really believe in the field of dreams. Kevin Costner, the saying, if you build it, they will come.
Yeah, absolutely.
Show called Take My Advice. I'm not using it balance with Dr. Marissa. I've built series in with co-hosts like Dr. Tiffanie Tate, and we focus on those things that are good in life and good about you and good about me. So that's my bottom of the bun, biggest appreciation. And with that, thanks for having breakfast with us this morning. And I promise that if you have breakfast with us or without us, taking a bite of our gratitude sandwich, you will sandwich your day in the most positive way. And we have an appreciation here. Awesome rendition. Oh, this is not one of your sorority sisters either. This is a friend of mine, Karimu, and past guest. He's been on the show, so you can find my interview with Karimu on my YouTube TV channel. And he is a wonderful guy who does wonderful work himself. He has a book. He's just he's a beneficial presence on the planet. So welcome.
Thank you,
Thank you. And there's the compliment. And what are we doing today? What are we talking about today? I'm going to remind myself, because I thought it was Friday. This week's topic, batter up. This week's topic on my Special Wednesday series is called, and this is Dr. Tiffany's picking out From X to Next, the art of moving on. Now that Dr. Tiffany and I have both joined the ranks of happily divorced, we're exploring the game of moving on. Are there ways to avoid striking out? Are apps a way to steal bases? Do we really want someone to slide into our home base? Well, I'm glad that you're tuning in for what will be a all-star game show. Dr. Tiffany, why did you pick this topic?
Well, I picked this topic because I was on social media and I was on Facebook, and I kept coming across these different messages. I saw one of my nurses who I used to work with in Tennessee, and she had posted something about having a toxic relationship with a family member and having to cut that family member off. And I was like, okay, and I dismissed it. And then I came across another message in another group talking about having toxic relationships with a significant other. And then I dismissed it. And then I'm thinking, okay, this is becoming a theme. And I know that I'm divorced and you're divorced. And I was thinking, okay, there's an issue here, and people have issues with leaving relationships and leaving jobs. And we have a lot of experience from going from an ex to a next. So we can impart a little bit of wisdom. So I said, okay, we can take our experience and the experience from other professionals and give some guidelines and some rules to help people come up with some of the red flags that they can identify and some tools to help them use that and put it in their toolbox, and they can choose to move on. Now, I'm not saying that you have to do anything, but you should be aware, and you can decide whether or not you want to act or stay, because sometimes you're in hell, and if you're familiar with the streets, you can stay there because it's familiar, or you can exercise that and know when enough is enough. Because when it comes to connection and when it comes to commitment, when that connection leaves, sometimes you can decide to leave, because falling in love happens. But the question is, do you want to stay in that relationship when the love leaves or when you become uncomfortable? So I was like, okay, do you want to force that round peg into that square hole? Don't force the fit.
All right. So if I understand correctly, we are going to be sharing some of our own personal experience, which I, always live out loud through this show about, lessons learned, right? If we're not, and again, me, I don't believe that there's only one person to complete you, or just one soulmate, or one twin flame, or one triplet flame. There are plenty of people to have really good relationships with romantically out of the 8 billion people out there. So, I tell my kids all the time, if you're having a relationship, one is either going to be a short or long chapter in your book of romance, but you will always learn something. So make sure you get that learning without bashing them, because you learned it. You attracted whoever you had in your life based on where you are. So I think it's a great topic. So what do you want to say about that?
I've always been taught that people come into your life for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. And you can decide where you want to categorize people. And when you look at people, whether it's a coworker or whether it's a significant other, are they there for a reason? Are they there for a season, or are they there for a lifetime? And you have to debate on whether or not that interpersonal relationship, how it's going to benefit you, and is it going to help you, or is it going to hinder you, and how you feel about it. And at your job, that coworker, that interpersonal relationship, how is it affecting you? And I looked it up, and you can kind of decide whether it's a toxic relationship and what are some of the signs and what are some of the red flags, because every relationship has a tad bit of toxicity, but is it poisoning you is the question.
I thought you were going to go through the signs of toxicity.
I can. Okay. So I wasn't sure if you wanted to say something, Dr. Marissa. So a lot of times you can have one-sided relationships. And if a relationship is one-sided, it can be very taxing on you. And I was married for about 23 years, and my relationship was one-sided. And it was very draining. It was very taxing. And I essentially did everything. And when I got divorced, they told me I created that monster. And it's hard, and it was a complete truth. And I'm an enabler, and it's something that I had to deal with because I'm too compassionate, I'm too empathetic. And you have to know who you are. And I own what I am. And so when you are in a relationship that's one-sided, it can be very rough because you're doing everything and you're going out of your way. And the person on the receiving end, they're going to feel very loved, and they're going to feel that all their needs are met. But then on the other end, you're feeling drained. You're feeling that your needs are not being met. So that's a big red flag. And so,
So I am going to chime in here for a second, because I don't want people to think I was disrespecting you when I was laughing when you said 23 years. I mean, that's like me saying, when someone asks me, how long were you married? I say, my sentence was 9.25 years. You can hear the load of that. And again, we're not here to bash, but we're here to explore. Self-awareness is a skill. And I think it's really good of you to understand. I get a lot of people coming to me for relationship coaching. I know the story, the title of my show is Take My Advice. I'm not using it because I'm not in a relationship, haven't been for 7 years. But to recognize that when you are complaining all the time, right, for 23 years, he doesn't do this, he doesn't do this, he doesn't do that, he won't do this. That is a sign not that you are being mistreated, but first and foremost, that you are enabling this behavior for more than 5 minutes, 1 hour, 1 day, let alone 23 years. And I think that when people can own their side of the imbalance in a relationship. So if you're doing this and they're doing this, you're doing this and you're doing this, that means you set that up, right? Because if you do this and they don't come here, that means you go like this instead of, oh, I'll go over here to meet that and complete that. So I just wanted to highlight that is like the first step, I believe, in how you learn from, what you've been doing. Now, if you're on the other end, right, and you're the one that's going like this, okay, and I've had men that come and say, I know that I'm not good at commitment, but I can't get over, I had my heart broken the first time I fell in love, and I don't ever want to feel that way. And I look at them and I say, when did that happen? 18 years old. How old are you now? 48 years old. So you're going to let one thing that happened to you 30 years ago impact every subsequent relationship?
Mm-hmm.
Come on. So go ahead.
Absolutely. And it's important to communicate with your partner because they're not mind readers. They're not your father. They're not your mother. And if you don't communicate how you feel, the situation is you're going to change. If you are dating someone and you don't say, hey, I'm paying for everything, I expect you to start paying too, nothing's going to change. They're not going to step up and do their part unless you tell them to. You have to state what you want, or you're not going to have your needs met. If you want the relationship to move forward, they're not psychic, they're not mind readers. They're not going to do what you want them to do until you tell them what you want.
Yes, and you're getting a lot of fingers, thumbs up, not that one. Ooh, I almost put that one up. This one, for some of the points that we're going through now. I totally agree on they're not mind readers, especially if you have gender differences or any kind of differences, and we expect people to read our mind. But payment is one of those things that is a little more convoluted these days because we did come from a culture in a past society where it was the man who paid for, or whoever the breadwinner, right? The breadwinner was the one that paid. Now, I'm having this hiccup right now because I will put it out there that and I just started dating, in case you didn't know, after 7 years. And I do have that expectation, right, on the date that you pick up the check. And if you don't pick up the check, then I'm going to, put a minus sign because for the first date, especially, that is my my desire to feel like I'm being pampered, so to speak. I want to be pampered. So in that case, if the man said to me, do you want to help with this? That would be such a turn off to me. Now, I'll say, can I help you with that? And they'll say, oh no, I've got this. That's a bonus point. So I know that both of us went through a little bit of a different kind of divorce because we were the primary breadwinners. And so we lost a lot in the divorce, as my judge said to me when my lawyer said to him, but Your Honor, this isn't fair. And the judge looked straight at me and said, well, you wanted equal rights. So, ouch. However, the money thing does add a complexity to this whole equal business.
I think nowadays it is a tad bit different because some men think that they need to be taken care of, but it is about communication. And as long as you communicate with your partner, if you say, okay, who's paying for this date? If I ask you out on a date, then I'm paying for the date. If you ask me out on a date, I expect you to pay for the date. But don't go out on a dinner date and then you push the bill to me. I think it's important that communication is key. And if you guys can't communicate, then that's a problem. Say if you're taking a vacation together, you need to know who's paying for what, or if you're going to go Dutch. So are you going to pay for your half of the trip and I'm going to pay for my half of the trip? It's about clear communication. So communication is key. And I think I looked up a few red flags and we can talk about those briefly. If your significant other is always finding something is wrong with you, and they're unsolicited suggestions like, you always need to improve something about yourself. They don't support your interest or hobbies. That's a red flag. Anything, number two is like if they always strip away things like your self-esteem. Oh, like you don't look good in that dress, or I don't like your haircut. Those are kind of rude statements. If there's a clear imbalance of power, if they're always just being disrespectful, they're controlling and excessively jealous about what you're doing, where you're going. If they're talking about, or if they can't keep track of waiting for you, like you keep waiting and hoping for them to change.
That's a big one, and I have a term for that. It's called going to the tractor for milk. Going to the tractor for milk. Tractors don't give milk, but we keep going there hoping that this time it will be different. And I am so guilty of that. I tried to leave my relationship, my marriage 6 times. One time before we even got married, and then 5 subsequent times, because every time I said, do you love me? Do you want to stay married? And he wouldn't say yes, but he wouldn't say no. And what I've discovered is I'm a normal, one of the 7 out of 10 of us who've had childhood trauma. The normal reaction from growing up, feeling like you're not good enough or feeling like you're unlovable, you attract or you choose a mate who continues that feeling. I was physically abused. He didn't physically abuse me. However, emotionally, talking about the not supporting or whatever, he never said I looked good or bad in anything that I wore. He never said he liked or disliked anything that I ate. There was no feedback. But when I did find out that he was introducing me as my wife is obese and I was as thin as I am now behind my back, and when I met those people and they said, you're not obese, then I realized, I think it was one of those aha moments that I did this. I attracted the same disapproving or absent of approval energy through this man who was very good looking, by the way. Looks like Gregory Peck. So I have beautiful children, and I'm sure I did that on purpose too. But that was me. I did that. I kept, yes, the warning signs are good to know, but to take ownership that I brought that into my life is such a powerful way to frame moving on, because that way it's not their fault. They didn't, yes, they did those things. I don't like it. But if I can take ownership that I drew that, then I know how not to draw that. Does that make sense?
Oh, absolutely. Because in a sense, you become addicted to abuse. And it's nothing that you try to do because, and I was raised in trauma too. I have issues with abandonment. And I think that's why I stayed in my marriage for so long, because I didn't want to abandon him. And I just tolerated things. And I was okay being tolerated and not loved. And like I said, you're in a hell but you know the streets and it's a sense of familiarity. And you don't really know what it's like to truly be loved. You're okay with just being accepted. And you deserve more, but you don't really know what that more is. And it's just something that's familiar. And it's okay if you're okay with it, because you're okay with being okay. And it's just is what it is at this point. And that's number 7. You feel it very insecure. And when you're in a healthy relationship, there's a significant back and forth where you're complimenting each other and bringing out the best in each other. And I remember when I had told my ex, oh, I'm going to write a poetry book. His response was, well, I like poetry too. Not like, oh, congratulations. And so it was not necessarily a healthy thing. Whereas normal people would be like, oh, good for you. Yay. Not like, well, I can do that too. So there's different things. And number 8 is your significant other takes responsibility for their issues. Whereas healthy people will support one another, take responsibility. Number 9, your partner is constantly stonewalling you. Having a fight doesn't mean your relationship is toxic, but if your significant other shuts down after the fight, won't communicate, that's a red flag. Open lines of communication are good. Sometimes you do need a cooling off period, but after they cool off, the lines of communication should be open. You should be able to talk to one another and be able to resolve it. And if your family and friends are concerned about you, that's another red flag. Family and friends, they often are concerned, but if it's the overwhelming majority,
it might be a little tiny little bit of a sign. And if you just tuned in and you're wondering what's going on in the studio today, you are tuned in to Take My Advice. I'm Not Using It. Get Balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show here on KCAA, NBC News Radio, home to the Asian Oprah, AM 1050, FM 106.5, and streaming everywhere. iHeartRadio, Spotify, Stitcher, and of course you can watch and listen on my YouTube TV channel, where if you're free subscribe, you will get an alert every weekday morning that we're about to come on and blow your positive socks on. And today is Wednesday, and I do have my very special co-host for Wednesdays called, the series is Doctors in the House with Dr. Marissa and
Dr. Tiffanie Tate.
And today we are talking about the art of moving on. And Dr. Tiffanie has been talking about some red flags or warning signs, a little neon flasher saying it might be time to move on, whether it takes you 23 years or 9.25 years of a sentence of a marriage, whatever it is. We hope that you are enjoying and learning from our experiences, and please do put down in the chat any questions or comments or experiences you have had as well today. Now, you just went through 10 examples or points on if you to help you recognize if you are in a toxic relationship or not. So once you realize, and I'm thinking, I met on last week, a woman came up to me and, she was sharing that she was really sad, and she realized now that the relationship had run its course and she didn't know how to have that discussion with the partner who may or may not be in that same place of awareness. So I think it would be great for us to maybe even talk about tools and tactics around when you have that realization, is there a better, best way? Is there something that, when you're coaching your clients that you do to sort of move there as, I wouldn't say painlessly. It's going to be painful, right? Any change is different. But you know, in what ways can we move through that so that it's not, you know, a car crash, but maybe it's just like, you know, finding a different parking spot. So you want to speak to that? I have actually one thing that I do with all couples when they come to me and say it's finished, we need to move on. Before you do that, I ask them to spend 30 days, 30 consecutive days, and only compliment each other with all of the things from their relationship, however long it was, all the good memories they have. So every single day, the only thing that comes out of their mouth is a compliment, and see if that can't rekindle, or, you know, when you're starting a lawnmower or whatever it is, if that can't remind you of the flame or relight the pilot light of why you fell in love or had that relationship with them. Doesn't always work, but when you are able to do that, for me, that proves that you are willing to do everything possible to try to stay with that person for a little bit longer in that chapter in your book of romance. So that's my prescription that I use.
Well, I would say, I believe that if you're trying to rekindle the relationship, I always say quality time. If you have children, send them away to be with someone, and just being intimate with your partner and truly getting to know them, kind of dating again, getting back to what was before you had children, reminding yourselves of what drew you to each other to begin with. Because a lot of times you really need to bond on a physical level and remember and remind yourselves of what you appreciated about each other. And it's nice to have words, but I believe a lot of times physical intimacy is a way to really reunite. And if you really want to reunite, that seals the bond. I think it kind of reunites the soul. And it's a beautiful way to draw each other together again. And quality time, talking to each other, cuddling on the couch, watching Netflix. Physical intimacy isn't always intercourse and bumping uglies, like we said last week. It's just holding each other, looking into each other's eyes, holding hands, taking a walk in the park, just spending quality time together, dancing together in the house. You don't necessarily have to go out and be among other people. It's just a lot of time spending time alone and just unifying together and spending time with one another. But if you know that it's not going to work, sometimes you need to cut the cord. And if you need to cut the cord, you need to eliminate it and cut all ties. And we can talk about that too.
Like taking your dog to the vet? No. Anyways, Kiana, thank you for your comment. Thanks for today's topic, Dr. Marissa, and you for sharing your experience, Dr. Tiffanie Tate. And thank you for appreciating what you are right now. And thank you for reminding me. That is actually the first question. When couples come to me, I say, when was the last time you had sex? I don't say bumping uglies, but I just learned that from you last week. But I do ask when this, because it is true that is usually one of the first things to go. Because certainly, if you're not respecting or liking or seeing anything good about that person, then that's one of the things that is missing. So if you haven't had sex with your partner, I would say in more than a month, that's usually a sign for me that there's something unbalanced in there. I don't prescribe, I asked Dr. John Gray how often you should be having sex to know that your relationship is not in trouble. And his response was at least two times a week, no matter what age you are, which I thought was an interesting thing. Now he's 72, I believe, and he still has a very active sex life, which was really fun to talk about over Peking duck when we were in San Francisco with his new Chinese wife and my daughter. But that's, and it works for him. And he says that many older couples have this BS belief system that sex is not as important, which he says, as you are saying as well, is still, as I am saying, it is still important. So yes, talking true, and the gratitude true. But the very first session, I have them hold hands and look in each other's eyes and begin that positive affirmation process to see if it's going to go or not. Now, do you have an opinion or experience when one person really wants to make that relationship work and stay, and the other person is done, wants the snip? Is it possible to work through that?
No, if one person is checked out, you cannot force someone to love you. You cannot force a connection. And if one person wants out, let them out. It's not going to work. You're just delaying the inevitable. And it's best to just cut the cord. And if you don't have children, that's a blessing. If you do have children, you can work through it and just talk to them about the children. But if you don't have children, cut it out, cut all ties, cut communication. Don't cruise their social media. Eliminate all contact, block them, don't communicate. It is just going to hurt you. Look for distractions from your feelings, remove any reminders or triggers from your ex. Take a social media break from them. Take care of yourself, get time for yourself, but eliminate contact with your ex. You should not be talking to an ex that you are still in love with and they are not in love with you.
Strong words. Sounds like it's a little personal, which is good in the sense that she's not just preaching. She's preaching to her own choir, and she's been through this. There are people, I believe, who can maintain a friendship after the relationship, but I do not believe that that is the majority. I believe that again, as Dr. Tiffanie is saying, if you are into self-care and you know it pains you every conversation because you still know that you are pining or wanting that relationship and you're going to the tractor for milk, then those are definitely the cases where you do yourself a favor and don't keep going to the tractor for milk, reminding yourself that there is no milk there. I was also guilty of that, as I spoke to you earlier. 6 times of going back to that tractor. And it took an affair that he had, which I'm actually grateful for, because that finally gave me the strength to say, okay, this really is never going to be what I want it to be.
But
and I wake it up.
Dr. Marissa, I think if the ex is not in love with you, and they can have a friendship with your new partner, and you're okay with introducing them to your new partner, then that's fine. But if you want to keep them a secret and have them not communicate and things like that, then that's kind of shading. So I think that it's a fine line. But communicating with exes and having them be secretive, and I think that's a murky ground. But if it's an ex that's pining over you and contacting you in secret and still in love with you, I think that's a red flag, and that those are people that you may want to look at with a side eye. And
I'm learning all kinds of vocabulary from you, Dr.
You don't know about the side eye? Girl, let me tell you about the side eye.
Before, but
Yes, that's right, the side eye. So those are people you look at with the side eye, and you have to watch, Because if there's an ex that's in love with you and still communicating with you, and you're communicating with them in secret, I think that's something that you have to watch carefully, and it's a concern. And I'm like, if you still want to be in the streets, then you need to be in the streets and not in a relationship.
Yeah, for sure. And we're getting the 5-minute signal from my fabulous sound engineer in the back. Frank, you are tuned in to Take My Advice. I'm not using it. Get Balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show. You're on KCAA, the station that leaves no listener behind, celebrating 25 years. #1 talk in the IE. I am Dr. Marissa, and today is Doctors in the House with Dr. Marissa and
Dr. Tiffanie Tate.
And we've been having a great conversation. Lots of thumbs up, giving us the finger, this one, and some hearts also as well, as we traverse this all-star game called The Art of Moving On, and making sure that we are not letting people slide into home base when their time is done on ending relationships. We hope that you have, taken something that you needed to help enhance the ends of your relationship, and certainly the points Dr. Tiffanie will give her final word on this particular topic.
Okay, so I want to give you a few quick things. Make sure you take care of yourself. If you're having issues and you do want to break up, you can always write a letter to your ex. Surround yourself with people who love you. And remember, God wants the rest of your life to be the best of your life.
Beautiful. And my final word is, don't go to the tractor for milk. If you're not getting what you need from that person and all you're doing is complaining about how they're not meeting your needs, then the finger points right back at you, boo. Why are you still in a relationship where you're going to the tractor for milk and constantly not getting what you want? Usually that means that it is you that's not giving you what you want. The best African-American saying I know is, when there is no enemy within, no one outside can hurt you. So if you're feeling like you're not enough, then you're going to stay in a situation or in a relationship where they're not giving you enough. But when you know how important, loving, lovable, and loved you are, you won't be staying in that relationship. And on the other hand, if you're constantly complaining about how that person is not meeting your needs, let them go be with someone who appreciates them. It is no walk in the park to have to be in a relationship where you're only hearing about how you're not good enough. Set the person, let them go. Let your peeps go. Find someone who appreciates them. And that's my final word. We are so happy. Oh, you've got a love person here. Mary Montgomery is saying she loves you. We are down to 2 minutes. There's just a love fest going on. Thank you for tuning in today. Tomorrow's show, we're actually going to preach Dr. Marissa. Thank you, Mary. We are going to continue this subject, accidentally, hashtag not accidentally, Dr. Tiffanie. You don't even know this. Dr. James Hawthorne, my co-host on Thursdays, picked a topic yesterday that is exactly relationship post-mortem, when exes aren't 86, the good, the bad, and the ugly. So like this topic, please join me tomorrow with Straight Talk with Dr. Marissa and James Hawthorne, but always come back to Wednesdays with this special series, Doctors in the House with me and
Dr. Tiffanie Tate. Hey.
Thank you so much for tuning in. And remember, it's all about balance. Peace in, peace out. World peace through inner peace. Now go and have the best day
ever.
See you tomorrow.